Hello and welcome back everyone to Season 2 of The Committee Reads. I am KaijuX, KWC Chief Editor and Second Command and all that good stuff. And here today we have two other readers with us. Introduce yourself, gentlemen.
Should I go first?
Yes.
Oh, if so, sure. I'm Justin, also known as Muto on the Toho Kingdom forums. You might know me from the roleplay section or not, or probably the fan art section. I'm more there, really.
I'm Alex Williams, also known as Godzilla vs. Jason, and the Kaiju fan who hates everything, even though he's still on this site.
And today our match is going to be one heck of a doozy. What a way to start off Season 2 with Match 14, which, to my understanding, is the official start of the KWC with Godzilla versus Gamera. Both Heisei.
So they're both fat?
Yes.
So it's a sumo wrestling fight, then?
It's the world's greatest sumo wrestling fight. But anyway. Match 14. Godzilla Heisei vs. Gamera Heisei by Thomas Singleton. The vast metropolis of Tokyo bathed in the shivering fabrics of light that soared out of the sun. In the land of the rising sun, millions awakened to carry out their daily chores. Hundreds every minute of the day strode through the packed streets. Those in cars waited for hours just to reach a destination that was only a few miles away. In this city, in this country, the daily chores kept the land alive and the people to flourish. But now the sun crouched lower in the horizon. Dusk fell upon the land that was slowly fading into darkness. The gigantic sphere that controlled our every way of life pulled its fabrics of light away from the metropolis, allowing the blackness to pour and take Tokyo as its own for one more night. Centuries ago, the land and even the world were used to having their light fade for several hours. But in the new modern era, the city extinguished its own artificial light that reduced the darkness in the surrounding area. No longer would its inhabitants stride outside to be engulfed by the night. It was a new generation. It was a new time. A time that no longer dealt with the age-old problems that once grasped the ancestors of the past.
A young couple gazed up at the night sky, which dwindled with stars that gleamed brightly from a distance. To them, this was what life was all about. There were no problems in the world. Everything in the vast emptiness of space circled around them. Life was a gift, one they could not waste. Would not waste, sorry. But the stars weren't the only thing in the night sky that gave off a glow. What at first was thought to be an aircraft was actually something much, much more. Its body rotated around in circles, spinning rapidly. Azure flames blossomed out of 4 separate parts of the object's body, which left a trail of smoke behind. A howling cry shook the city block. The roar was louder than thunder, and succeeded in not only stirring the ground, but sending pulses of fear into the minds of those who wished they had not heard such a horrible scream. But to this land, the roar did not belong to a mysterious entity. It belonged to the most infamous creature the world had ever known. Should I read the next part?
If you want to.
Okay. The waters in Tokyo Bay normally would flow smoothly, only to ripple and stir when the wind was pushing against it. But there was no wind. Long, jagged spines sliced through the watery surface. The Leviathan rose out of the water. The bright lights of Tokyo failed to reveal the identity of the mysterious creature that had landed on its shores. Under the cover of darkness, any witnesses that had not yet ran away for their lives could only make out an outline resembling a dinosaur that stood on its hind legs, with sharp spines protruded out of its back and a tail waving across the water. Water profusely dripped down the body of the large creature. All anyone could hear besides the screams of fear was the unnatural sound of the animal's breathing. Air that was inhaled into the animal's jaws released a loud of the snarl. It was finally recognized as Godzilla. Pass.
Godzilla trotted forward, his feet breaking through the concrete as footprints were left in his wake. Nearby structures that had survived the tremors ripping through the ground were soon demolished by Godzilla's body. The atomic saurian stomped into the heart of Takio unopposed, but the strange object in the sky started to spin towards the invading monster. Godzilla's reptilian eyes glared at the incoming object. His prehistorian mind described the animate object as a threat. The spines clattering together every time Godzilla walked. Insert grammar stopped and glistened with a bright radiant of power. In the back of Godzilla's gaping maw, flashes of nuclear energy pulsaried. The spinning object stopped in midair a few hundred yards in front of the horror of nuclear warfare. The azure flames flowing out of the spinning object disappeared and were replaced by thick streams of smoke. The object no longer was spinning. Instead, it began to descend to the ground. A mammoth head burst out of the confines of its reptilian shape. Reptilian flesh encased the head. Two long fangs curved out of its bottom jaw, not being able to conceal with the maw of the beast when it closed. Its eyes were enriched with an emerald essence. Soon the bellowing fountains of smoke ceased, and the limbs sprouted out to take its place. The creature's body fell towards the ground where its feet grappled the street below to keep the body standing. It was huge. That's what she said. Godzilla's silly corpse cast a livid stare at his new contender, who had come to challenge his reign of imperialism over this land. Communist. Godzilla stares and was returned by this giant tortoise of biblical proportions. People ran around their feet, flocking to escape the looming taste of dread. Sounds sexy. That was about to erupt in the streets of Takio. Pass.
I told you that when there were mistakes to be found, you could make fun of them. I didn't necessarily say create mistakes on the fly.
Zowie.
Still, that was pretty good. Communists. Anyway. Swinging his tail into a nearby skyscraper, Godzilla's tail sliced into the skyscraper's outer hull and made the building crumble to the ground. A thick cloud of smoke converged on a small portion of where Godzilla was standing. The nearby buildings that gleamed with artificial light bathed Godzilla's dark skin. The radioactivity inside Godzilla's body had already dried his skin after being submerged in water for so long. Godzilla's spines radiated with the atomic fury of mankind's own insolence. But the king of the monsters did not know that he was about to tangle with the protector created by an ancient civilization eons ago, the guardian of the universe, known as Gamera. Orbs of atomic energy churned in the gaping jaws of Godzilla. It allowed tendrils of radiation to escape in the region surrounding Godzilla's maw. Godzilla's spines flashed with a blinding aura that no human had ever been exposed to. It shimmered brighter than before, intensifying every second. Is that spelled right? Intensifying?
Yep.
Okay, alright. Throwing his head forward, Godzilla unleashed an atomic beam, which circulated...
No, actually, it's not.
Oh, really?
No, wait, no, it is, actually. Wait, I'm wrong.
Are you wrong or are you right? Woo! Anyway.
It's spelled right.
Okay, good. Throwing his head forward, Godzilla unleashed an atomic beam, which circulated out of his mouth and lanced into Gamera's armored chest. That's kind of weird how armored chest is kind of together like that, but oh well. Gamera screamed in agony as the force of Godzilla's beam dug into the plates of the tortoise's chest. Godzilla's feet embedded their claws into the ground, fighting desperately to not have the mutated dinosaur to be thrown off balance by a discharge of its own ray. The searing heat had failed to affect Gamera. Is that used properly? But the amazing force ripped into the organic plates that had been grown to withstand piercing attacks. It had never expected to go up against Godzilla's wrath.
Oh my.
Godzilla's heat ray continued to flow into Gamera's chest. With a loud, ear-shattering wail, Gamera fell to the ground, his back shell slamming into the ground. And a great way to use ground twice in a sentence, and caused the concrete to defy gravity by rising into the air. King Ghidorah, is that you? Anyway, a large imprint of Gamera's body will forever be imprinted in the street corner. Once again, imprint twice in the same sentence, just in different grammatical forms. Pass.
Raking the ground with his thrusting claws, Gamera struggled to rise and meet the king of the monsters. But the ground shook back and forth. It appeared Godzilla had other plans in store for the monster that had come to save the city of man. Gamera met Godzilla and the two titans ripped into the other for the first time. Godzilla crunched Gamera's shoulder, where no shell was present, to fortify its defense against Godzilla's slashing teeth. Fighting the pain Godzilla's jaws inflicted, Gamera scurried his claws into Godzilla's abdomen. Both monsters tried to use their own weight to dilute each other. For a moment, Godzilla was the victor. Godzilla pushed Gamera across the ground and attempted to ram the giant torso into the outer hall of an office building whose constructors had never envisioned to be reduced to rubble by two fighting monsters. But Gamera's shell was all that made contact with the office building. The windows shattered and the wall was pushed back, but Gamera had managed to stop Godzilla. The tides had turned. Gamera thrust his body forward, pushing Godzilla backwards.
Oh my.
Godzilla's jaws were still ripping into Gamera's shoulder, but the mighty tortoise didn't allow the pain to overcome him. As Gamera pushed with all his might, he rammed his head into the side of Godzilla's skull, attempting to break Godzilla's mouth away from inflicting any more damage. Gamera's long fangs slashed into Godzilla's throat, peeling the skin away from the body, but the wound had healed instantly. Gamera's eyes considered this to be a folly in his plans of defeating the atomic saurian. Pushing his feet harder against the ruptured ground, Godzilla attempted to gain leverage over Gamera by leaning straight up and pushed Gamera's arms down with strength accompanied by the mass of his body. Godzilla swiftly dropped his body down and hurled it for... What? That sounds very Showa, honestly. But this is a Heisei Godzilla. Gamera was temporarily overpowered by the atomic saurian and was toppled to the ground. Godzilla's nuclear orbs. I don't get why he said that. Why he...
I think it's referring to his eyeballs.
I know, but that is the weirdest...
Like, description for eyeballs
I don't think eyeballs, I think just two spheres.
If it was gelatinous orbs, that might have been acceptable.
Yeah.
Thomas Singleton, everyone.
Yeah.
The early days.
Looked down upon Gamera, who was unable to impale Godzilla's hide with his claws. Godzilla's own kept them at bay. Pass.
Gamera's eyes were blinded by the dazzling aura of light generated by Godzilla's spines. In the back of Godzilla's gaping jaws, atomic flames wrought sizzling heat and approaching doom. Godzilla felt the atomic energies churn in his mouth, oh my, and prepared to unleash the full fury of his nuclear beam upon Gamera point blank. Hanging over Gamera's skin, which steamed with splintering pain, Godzilla's jaws parted wider and unleashed a stream of atomic power. Before Godzilla had expelled his devious power, Gamera's legs disappeared in dense smoke. Gamera's arms were sucked into their sockets, no longer a prisoner of Godzilla's strength. The guardian of the universe blasted off from underneath Godzilla's powerful grip, escaping Godzilla just as the atomic dinosaur spewed a beam of nuclear properties. Godzilla's beam lashed into the ground, incinerating a mixture of rock and metal, while at the same time the pressure the beam applied made the ground rise. Smoke filled Godzilla's optic vision, but the creature's instincts had already alerted him of his enemy's escape. Glaring in the direction of where he sensed Gamera, Godzilla was preparing to unleash another intensified blast. Sounds sexy. But to Godzilla's dismay, the creature's vision was blinded by the coming of a ball made of fire, the fireball plummeted into Godzilla's face, instantly vaporizing the skin and releasing enough force to knock Godzilla off his feet. Godzilla's body crashed into the ground, the spine splintering the terrain as the beast slid across it. Godzilla's scorched face became refuge for flesh that has been fried by Gamera's power. Godzilla cried out in pain as his face began the process of regeneration. The mutated dinosaur's eyes has been burned and reduced to a small shadow of what they once were. Crippled of vision, Godzilla lazily attempted to rise to his feet. Sounds like every American. Enraged at Gamera, Godzilla fired blazing streaks of atomic flame and prayed they connect with the giant turtle. But instead, the beams of energy eclipsed surrounding structures, ripping and toppling them to the ground. Pieces of what remained scattered across the region, unveiling a sheet of smoke which blanketed the downtown district. All that could be seen was the colossal bodies of Godzilla and Gamera. Oh, pass.
Gamera remained shrouded by smoke and used it to conceal him from his enemy. But even if smoke had not blanketed his body, Gamera knew Godzilla was temporarily blinded and wouldn't be able to see him. It would be best to inflict as much damage as possible. Gamera's jaws were separated by crackling flames. Exerting pressure, Gamera exhaled a fireball that in its wake led a stream of fire. But Gamera didn't stop there. Two other fireballs erupted out of Gamera's jaws consecutively. The first fireball burned into Godzilla's chest and detonated, removing a layer of armored skin that failed to protect Godzilla from any harm. The force applied by the fireball nearly toppled the beast to the ground, but Godzilla's sizzling wound had not suffered enough as the other two fireballs struck the injured chest, frying the coating of skin that tried desperately to heal itself. Godzilla's massive form was hurled into the air. An office building that had been in business for the past several years was razed to the ground, reduced to rubble after being crushed by Godzilla's form. There would be no survivors if any happened to be inside the structure when it was squashed. Rubble scurried off Godzilla's body, which was rising out of the mess it had made. Godzilla's eyelids opened, revealing the inner orbs that had been nearly critically wounded. Vision all but a blur. Godzilla was unable to locate the intruder. Aggravated by the wounds he had received, Godzilla's spines became enriched with atomic energy. Atomic flames seared out of the reptile's jaws, destroying anything Godzilla had deemed unworthy of existing. Buildings were slashed in half, crumbling down the slopes of their own remains. Nearby spectators mourned in despair as their homes were caught in Godzilla's wrath. Entire neighborhoods had gone up in flames, along with the inhabitants who stayed with their loved ones to the bitter end. But Godzilla's wrath clouded what judgment the creature would ever have. The nocturnal environment that brought darkness to the city had been exposed to bright flashes of light emitted by Godzilla's spines. The long, jagged spines protruded out of Godzilla's back, danced with an eerie essence of nuclear power. Godzilla's atomic blast seared out of his gaping jaws, repeatedly slashing the air and reduced the human structures all around to cinders. The king of the monsters was out of control. Gamera crept towards the enraged Saurian. His feet sank.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for a moment there?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, but in that previous paragraph, he pretty much says the same sentence twice.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Atomic flame seared out of the reptile's jaws. Godzilla's atomic blast seared out of his gaping jaws.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early days, man. Early days.
Yeah.
We all have them. Gamera crept towards the enraged Saurian. His feet sank beneath the concrete, spawning low-level tremors. The vibrations in the ground jolted beneath Godzilla's feet. Godzilla's predatory eyes searched for the one that created the ambience in the ground, knowing it would result of Gamera being nearby. Gamera stopped and witnessed Godzilla turning his gaze directly at him. Godzilla spat a destructive roar at Gamera, warning the tortoise that the ability to see had returned to the king of the monsters. Gamera's feet disappeared in a column of smoke, which seeped out of the top layer of the legs. With a burst of power, Gamera launched its body straight up, releasing large volumes of smoke out of its leg sockets. Gamera pointed his jaws at Godzilla and fired a barrage of fireballs. Godzilla ducked his head, allowing the first two fireballs to fly overhead. Godzilla felt the heat the fireballs gave off as they narrowly missed the aberration of nuclear origins. Consumed by fire and plasma, the last fireball singed Godzilla's right shoulder. Godzilla cried out in fury at the escaping Gamera. Spewing forth a torrent of shimmering agony, Godzilla's atomic beam hacked into Gamera's abdomen and burned a hole into the custodian's body. Green blood oozed out of the burnt wound. Gamera satisfied Godzilla's anger with an ear-piercing wail of pain, but Godzilla's rage demanded more bloodshed. Pass.
Well, just want to say, I didn't know that Gamera was a custodian.
I was
wonder
about
where he
to
works
say.
Did I say that right? Custodian?
No, that's what it says.
Okay, good.
Custodian.
Yeah, I didn't know he worked as a custodian somewhere.
I could have sworn.
Didn't he mean Testudine?
I'm not sure. I could have sworn custodian could.
It could mean guardian, but that's like in a very vague sense, I guess.
Okay, all right.
I guess. I mean, like, I'm guessing that's what.
It's just
that
kind of a vague.
This seems like a case of using the not translate, synonym tool too often.
Right.
So remember,
I think that's what it was.
So remember, kids, if you don't thank Gamera for dealing with your shit, you better watch out. He's gonna beat you up.
Did you read the? Okay, you stopped at the end of that paragraph, right?
Yeah, but like the bloodshed bit.
Firing another volley of atomic energy, Godzilla's beam arced into Gamera's open wound and burned deeper. Losing control of his aerial flight pattern, redundant much. Gamera was too concentrated on pain that the great beast lost control and plummeted towards the ground. Mustering all the strength in his prehistoric body, Godzilla charged across the ground. Not necessary to say across the ground at this point, leaving footprints imprinted in. Excuse me. Godzilla showed a running speed he had never been able to achieve. Godzilla arrived at the scene of where Gamera was due to land. The atomic stone bent down, allowing approaching physical strain. Using the ground as leverage, Godzilla leapt into the air and twirled his body around, whipping the tail around to collide with its. This is.
What?
Are we sure this isn't Showa Godzilla?
It says Heisei. It says.
Watch
Heisei.
I think this is Showa Godzilla.
Watch, everyone's gonna say, but he's doing Showa Godzilla moves. Can't we confirm him now?
Yeah, right. Let me read that one sentence, just to be clear. Using the ground as leverage, Godzilla leapt into the air and twirled his body around, whipping the tail around to collide with the descending Gamera. This sounds like a move pulled straight from GU, or like the Atari Pipeworks games. Remember? The jump X button if you had the GameCube version.
Oh god.
Way to go, KaijuX. You just triggered some people.
I think I did, and I'm surprised no one noticed this. I think we're still in the early days. Either that or Tom's creative liberties stretch way back and I wasn't aware.
Probably they stretched way back and the early days.
Fair enough.
The Dark Ages.
Go ahead.
Okay. The collision diverted Gamera's falling body, making it crash into the ground. Wait, wasn't it gonna crash into the ground anyways?
Just keep going.
With his foe buried in the ground, Godzilla's thorny spines blossomed with atomic fury. An atomic beam pierced its way out of the dinosaur's divided jaws and punctured Gamera's arm, tearing and searing it to shreds. Layers of flesh and muscle designed to safeguard the arm socket popped upon contact with the blistering projectile. When did
Just read.
Its destruction rang out across the entire area for all to hear. Such an assault wrought pain and suffering to Gamera, who constantly screamed in sorrow. Okay, just one point I'd like to make. Beam and projectile are two different types of weapons.
I will keep that noted for my own matches. Anyway.
To quote Obi-Wan, from a certain point of view.
Yes.
It's kinda set in stone at this point. The agony Gamera's feeling pleased Godzilla's predatory instincts. Sadistic, isn't he? Jagged spines occupying Godzilla's back. I feel like there's way too much. There's a lot of filler in this story. Just a lot. Teeth extending out of the upper and lower parts of Godzilla's mouth glistened brightly after being exposed to the high temperatures of radioactive flames. Godzilla spout a destructive ray of atomic energy which lanced into Gamera's torso, piercing the reptilian's outer shell, literally melting the armored hide. Why is there a hyphen? Why is there a hyphen?
Don't
That
ask
had
me. There are a lot of
intense heat.
Yeah,
All
there
that
are a
remained
lot
was a smoldering crater embedded in Gamera's flesh. Godzilla's cold reptilian orbs. I feel that orbs could be used not in the context. Orbs sound, the way he's using orbs sounds a lot less like eyes and more like something else.
The story is full of orbiges.
Orgasms. Gazed into the massive wound Gamera had received. A neon blue aura tainted Godzilla's spines, embodying the colossal bony spikes. Bony spikes! With the element that gave the Saurian life. Surprise. After witnessing the the horrible aftermath of Godzilla's destructive power, the back of Gamera's maw shimmered with the presence of churning flames. It was a standoff. Wah, wah, wah. Godzilla's lip curled up, revealing the sharp fangs hanging down from the upper jaw. The azure light shining out of the back of Godzilla's throat glinted off the teeth, casting a malevolent warning of the searing pain to come. Not willing to take any chances, Gamera stomped towards the atomic saurian, fireballs pulsating out of his jaws. A bombardment of fireballs covered Godzilla's body in a cascade of flames. The force the fireballs inflicted was enough to cause Godzilla to fall to the ground, stabbing the ground with his serrated spines. Smoke whistled from the pores of his charred hide. The heat given off by Godzilla's spines melted the asphalt that tried to contain it. Godzilla rose to his feet and allowed the azure light to ripple even brighter, promising Gamera the devastation he will soon endure.
Oh my.
I feel there is a weird tense change there. Gamera was blinded by the departure of Godzilla's beam from his crackling jaws. The kinetic ray, fueled by Godzilla's nuclear might, enkindled the custodian's fresh wounds, not flesh wounds.
Okay, we get it. Gamera's a custodian. No need to rub it in our faces, man.
Custodian, who is also apparently, by my missaying, the Black Knight from that Monty Python film.
Yeah.
Gamera howled in pain from Godzilla's malicious attack. The glow embodying Godzilla's dorsal fins faded and the ray disappeared in thin air. Pass.
A ghastly residue of radiation lingered in the air like smoke. In a short amount of time, it would be no longer be seen by human eyes. The spawn of Godzilla's radioactivity would inherit the air for generations to come, polluting the lungs of any unfortunate enough to survive in a hellish wasteland. Godzilla sought to make sure that if any in the future would venture in his territory, they would find the corpse of this fall who dared to challenge his authority. Instead of infesting his mouth with the burning taste of atomic energies, Godzilla preferred to savor this moment by ripping into his opponent apart with his bare hands. Likes to get physical, huh? Stomping in Gamera's direction, the earth shuddered with every step the dinosaur made. Godzilla's eyes flared with animosity towards the defender known as Gamera. Still reeling from the assault Godzilla's bestowed upon his wretched body, Gamera released an earth-shaking cry, warning Godzilla did not come any closer, but the king of the monsters snorted a grunt of contempt, deeming Gamera's warning cry as a sign of the creature's farewell to this world. Looming closer, spikes split out of the Gamera's elbows. Did I say the Gameras?
The Gameras.
Yeah, the
well,
Gameras.
it would make sense, considering... wasn't it like the third Heisei film?
I don't know. And waited for the perfect moment to strike. Godzilla threw back his claws and plunged them forward, aiming to slice Gamera's throat wide open, but such intent was never realized, for Gamera knocked Godzilla's arm away from his own, then ripped Godzilla's torso wide open with his elbow blade. Hot crimson blood gushed out of the fresh wound Godzilla received, just like what we do in Texas. It wasn't the wood.
GVJ, can you read like from hot crimson blood to the end of the paragraph in that whispering, creepy voice?
Hold on, I gotta go real quick. Be right back.
I see.
What, were you just gonna have to sit here awkwardly, or what? I'll shorten the silence in post.
Have you seen my, have you seen what I've worked on for my Godzilla vs. Evangelion story?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's actually...
Like,
actually looks really
no,
nice.
what I'm saying, like, I've started writing it.
Oh, I haven't seen the written bit. I only saw the art that you posted, so...
Your audio cut out for a moment there.
I said...
You haven't seen the written bit, what?
I have not seen the written form of it, but I have seen the artwork you posted of your Ava, so...
Yeah, God damn it, your audio cut out again.
Really? Gosh darn it.
Hold on, I'm sharing you a link.
Now you're cutting out.
Gosh darn, really?
I mean, unless you didn't say anything for those last couple of seconds, but... Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. It went, it went like that. Also, tell me what you think, like, when you give it a read.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah,
even why.
Right. I'll give it a read, eventually. So...
Yeah. Eventually, I mean, like...
Where'd he go?
I don't know. Maybe he's getting food or something.
Alright, that's it. I'm gonna have to do it for him.
Oh, good guy.
Oh no. Wait. Oh no.
My cat's here.
I wonder how well the audio's gonna pick up with this, because I completely forgot to bring the mic down.
Oh dear.
I mean, if you've been able to hear me the whole time, then I guess it's all right. But
Yeah, I've been able to.
boy, I hope this comes out well in post.
Hi,
Well, I
Dad.
mean, it was still on, so whatever.
Hi, Dad.
Okay, I'm back.
Well,
All right.
Good. Hold on.
Yeah, you guys didn't have to wait for me to...
Alright.
Yeah, as I was saying, you guys didn't have to wait for me. You guys could have continued on, and I could have just read that, like, as a secret, like, end credits thing.
No, do it now. Read Hot Crimson Blood to the end of the paragraph in a quiet,
Do it
creepy
now.
voice.
Do it now.
Hot crimson blood gushed out of the fresh wound Godzilla received. It wasn't the wound that made Godzilla furious. Such damage could easily be repaired in seconds. But the idea of being harmed by such an inferior creature beckoned for an eternal life of suffering. Just like in Texas.
Nah.
Alright, you can continue reading as normal.
Alright. Godzilla looked forward to staining this wrecking metropolis with Gamera's remains. Pass.
Okay. In a quick succession, Godzilla inscribed gory trenches in Gamera's throat. Green blood trickled down Godzilla's claws and
You
fell.
cut out. You just cut out. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, as long as the audio hears me, you don't matter. But yeah, dig blasted Skype.
All about you now, huh?
Yes. Anyway. Green blood trickled down Godzilla's claws and felt the cold air freeze the warm blood. Like a starving... Wait, what? I can't hear a word.
Darn it, it cut out again.
Yep. So just let me continue to read. Read!
Okay.
Like a starving jaguar, Godzilla slashed Gamera's hide with his blood-stained claws. Slicing the air with his own claws, Gamera grazed Godzilla's throat with strategic accuracy. Godzilla's painful groan gurgled in his throat, leaking out of the wounded neck. Striding forward, splintering the ground with each earth-shattering step, Gamera rammed his body against the king of the monsters. Even the prehistoric strength surging in Godzilla's body failed to usurp Gamera's attempts at dethroning the atomic saurian in a contest of pure strength. Godzilla's feet dug into the asphalt, scraping it from its surface and leaving claw marks. If Godzilla tried to brush Gamera's arms away with his own, the custodian would impale Godzilla's torso with its elbow blades. Godzilla snarled in contempt, frustrated that an inferior creature had him in a corner. Such frustration spurred the growth of irritation. Irradiation? Irradiation. Huh. Don't think I've ever heard that before. Godzilla's gaping jaws flourished with the radioactive essence of death. The illuminating awe of nuclear carnage was enough to manipulate Gamera's strategic plans. Instead of using just physical force, Gamera decided it would be best to implement a different type of strategy. Godzilla prepared to unleash his radioactive ferocity, but a staggering pain threw off his concentration. I think that might be the wrong through. Anyway, no longer were Godzilla's spines sizzling with atomic light. Godzilla felt the atomic dinosaur's warm blood corrode his hand. The custodian from the ancient past wiggled his claws, poking Godzilla's innards. At last, Godzilla managed to glance down at the reason why his mind was throbbing to the point of insanity. One of Gamera's claws had managed to pierce his abdomen. Godzilla's body had literally consumed Gamera's hand and was now paying the price of having it within. Gamera literally thrashed Godzilla's internal organs with his rampaging claws. With a firm hold on a host of organs, Gamera began to pull them out of Godzilla's body. How dare such an insolent creature ever think of doing such a thing? Pass.
He's a custodian. He has to clean out the trash.
Yes. Quite, literally.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take over.
Alright. For his own superiority. When Godzilla sought to win, Okay, this is not working. Even if he had to sprinkle Gamera's blood upon this tarnished metropolis, Gamera didn't need to be psychic to know what Godzilla was thinking. That's Mickey's job. Just by staring at Godzilla's feral eyes, Gamera sensed the hatred and impending doom that flared in Godzilla's nuclear orbs. It's an orb, Gigi. Unable to hide the fury that was at this moment self-evident, Godzilla separated his jaws and allowed the blistering flow of radiation to lance into Gamera's arm. Gamera cried out in pain, unable to hide his agony from his adversary. Yeah, you can't hide anything. Godzilla's atomic beam ruptured Gamera's elbow joint, consuming it in an aura of searing purgatory. Gamera realized that he failed to pull Godzilla's organs, that could mean one or two things, from out of his belly quick enough, and in the process, Godzilla's wicked ray of death succeeded in singeing his arm in two. Gamera's benevolent pupils were transfixed on pieces of his arm falling to the ground. The asphalt that had been splintered by tussling titans now was covered in Gamera's green blood. If it bleeds, we could kill it. Chunks of what was once Gamera's arm now lay scattered upon the ground both monsters fought upon. It was a shame Godzilla's atomic beam irradiated with radioactivity, if it were just he. Gamera would have been able to absorb it, a furnace of smoke hissed out of what was once Gamera's arm. All that was left was an elbow, with pieces of burnt flesh dangling out of its pore. Thunder and roar escaped Godzilla's prehistoric jaws. The atomic saurian rammed his 30-ton body against Gamera. Okay, this is something from a porno. Gamera, the custodian of the universe, toppled to the ground. Gamera's incredible mass crushed any object it fell upon. See, this sounds like a porno. I'm not joking here. It seriously does. Mounds of asphalt and debris splashed up forward. See, that sounds wrong. Splashed.
Great. In a sentence that also involves incredible mass and ramming against body.
Yeah, these are the Dark Ages. Influenced by Gamera's impact with the ground, one of his arms mutilated, and his body suffering severe wounds from Godzilla's atomic beam. Yeah, that sounds wrong too. Gamera recognized the position he was in. Okay, again, seems wrong. Victory seems unlikely. He really wants to be the dominant one here, doesn't he? But Gamera will never give up. Oh. Balls of fire erupted from Gamera's maw. Okay,
that also sounds wrong. Gosh darn it.
Balls of fire erupted from Gamera's maw and crashed into the surrounding environment. Entire districts went up into flames, buildings devastated by the force each fireball packed. The area Gamera fired upon was now engulfed by a seam of fire. Godzilla acknowledged the flames. He didn't like them, he tolerated them. Allowing...
You cut off.
No.
Like, you start over from allowing, you kind of cut off.
Oh, okay. Oh. Godzilla acknowledged the flames, allowing...
I think Plastic cut you off again.
Crackling flames
Okay, just keep going.
The crackling flames reflected its premonition on the savage pupils of the mammoth reptile, making it seem as if Godzilla's orbs radiated with fire. Perhaps they were for hatred still burning Godzilla's orbs as they focused on the injured Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I love the fact that the moment that the story starts using eyes, you replace him with orbs.
Hey, he's contradicting himself here.
Must keep consistent. Anyway. But hey, the next one has everyone's
desperate
favorite
avarice.
So
Godzilla deemed Gamera a desperate adversary, feeling the janitor's aim was lousy. Again, something's wrong with that. Aim was lousy. The king of the monsters was standing right in front of him, yet Gamera still managed to miss. Where was the strategy? Did Gamera share Godzilla's animosity towards the city, which was built by the creatures that taught him the meaning of hate? Wow. An apron of radioactivity separated Godzilla's jaws, casting a brilliant aura over Gamera's fatigue. You know, I have to say,
an apron of radioactivity. Huh?
No, I was gonna say a sentence before that one, which was built by the creatures that taught him the meaning of hate. Man, Godzilla must have had a shitty childhood.
I mean, between, being shot to death by the U.S. military and then being abandoned by the Japanese and left to die for 10 years and then nuclear bomb makes you big. Yeah, I think it's pretty bad.
Pass.
Inhabitants scurried out of the rubble. Bruised and battered, they were lucky to be alive, but the radiation that lingered in the air would be their downfall. More like their demise, but whatever. Flames devoured entire streets, burning everything in its path. Those who had the privilege of surviving this anarchy paid heed to destruction all around them. They had only a few seconds to analyze the destruction unfolding around them, before they were engulfed by the light that was emitted from Godzilla's backside. The horrible cries of Gamera pervaded across the torn and battered metropolis. The horrible stench that roasted flesh sickened the nearby inhabitants. What atrocities does Gamera endure during the wake of Godzilla's atomic wrath? The question was answered.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Okay.
When Thomas Songleton says Metropolis, does he mean just by city or the city of Metropolis? Because if that's the city of Metropolis, where the hell's Superman?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's obviously just, like... Wait, would it be... No, I think Metropolis is still like a word. Right?
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Or is it Metropolitan? I don't know. I mean, if it were the city of Metropolis, despite the fact that the story... No, it's not even the question of... If this was the city of Metropolis, the question would have been, how did we jump from Tokyo to Metropolis so quickly? In the same fight! But anyway...
Superman must have done that trick from the first movie.
Fair enough.
Must have, flown them super fast without them noticing.
Maybe, but who knows for sure.
I would have preferred Gotham.
Well, of course. But anyway, continuing reading here. Godzilla ceased firing his atomic beam. The monster looked down upon his battered and withered foe. Godzilla paused, waiting for any signs of life. The smell of roasted flesh molested Godzilla's nostrils. Oh, that is a terrible childhood.
Okay, this is definitely a porno.
Yes, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Seriously, molested? There are children reading these.
Yeah, I know. What
if a child who got molested read that? He's gonna be upset.
Oh no! Oh gosh! Oh gosh! Oh gosh!
Hey, don't blame me. So he wrote it.
I know. I'm not blaming you at all. It's right there. You can. Oh gosh! Let's just go to the next sentence.
Yep, definitely a porno.
Yeah. While with the smell of victory, I don't want to know what that is. Godzilla shifted his gaze elsewhere, unable to cope with the terrible smell. Oh,
but was the victory really worth it?
Yeah, I know, right? Godzilla lumbered off in the opposite direction. I think that would have been... I don't think you needed opposite direction to imply that. Towards the peaceful sea. Onlookers prayed the King of the Monsters would spare them of his wrath. Godzilla paid no heed to the ants crawling around his feet. All that was on Godzilla's mind was the sense of victory and the longing of a long, peaceful sleep at the bottom of the sea.
Despite the fact that I think he takes pleasure in sadism, but hey, each to each their own. Frightened.
When you say pleasure, that's not helping.
Yeah, I know, right? Frightened witnesses examined what was left of Gamera. The janitor's skin had been incinerated. Charred strands hung from the pores of his body. Wow, those are some pretty big pores, eh?
Godzilla must have done a number on him, if you catch my drift.
Yeah! Dangling from the exposed muscles. Green blood dried out by Godzilla's irradiation. Gosh darn it. Green blood dried out by Godzilla's irradiation covered the majority of Gamera's body. Okay, there we go. I got through that fine. Not repeating that. Gamera's eye sockets had literally melted out of its sector, replaced by hissing smoke.
It's orbs. It's orbs.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Orbs. It would take days, weeks, maybe even months to remove the massive corpse. But the smell, the horrible stench of death, will reside here for years to come. Unless you have a lot of air freshener, that's another case. The smell would only be a reminder of all the lives that were lost this night. The earth trembled. Can't take it anymore. Godzilla's feet plowed into the asphalt, vibrating the entire district with every thundering stride. The sea was closer. It wouldn't take long. Godzilla's feral eyes examined the crackling flames. The fires had spread and would soon engulf the city. Light radiated by the fire glinted off Godzilla's bony spines. Godzilla's nuclear orbs, oh look, the proper word, descended to the ground and caught a glimpse. Good. Yeah, I know. I thought I had to replace eyes there for a second, but no.
I thought we were doomed at first.
Yeah! Descended to the ground and caught a glimpse of all the fleeing people, frantically trying to escape. The king of the monsters was a force of nature, only acting out of instinct. But as the towering behemoth observed the panicked crowd trying to get away, Godzilla felt an embrace of the truth. He was a god among insects. Okay, pass.
Shit, where were we?
Unknown.
Oh god, it's high school all over again.
Unknown to Godzilla.
Unknown to Godzilla. Unknown. Okay.
Right, it's right after God Among Insects.
Crackling flames in the district started to slither towards the janitor's corpse. The flames submerged their fiery essence into the Gamera's body. Fires blanketed Gamera's statue, reconstructing the damage Godzilla dealt. Oh man. See? Fire temporarily took the form of Gamera's orbs. Gamera twindled his fingers, trying to get the blood flowing. Gamera paused, allowing his strength to rejuvenate. The charred remains of Gamera's kitten started erect.
You cut out, and the moment it came back, you said erect. Oh my gosh. If you could just read that again so that way people get the context, that'd be great. Just that sentence.
Well, even if they get the context, it's still going to sound like a porno.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter, we already established that.
With what? Yeah, you're kind of cutting out on me too.
Oh, really? Oh, jeez.
Yeah. With one motion, Gamera rose to his feet and stood erect.
Okay, there we go.
Let's just ponder that for a moment. Erect. Let me ask you this. Do you think you and Grayshot would allow this to pass if someone put stood erect in a match? Would you allow that to happen?
I have no idea. Given what we have now officially declared this match to be, I am not sure. I am currently not sure.
Watch, as soon as this gets uploaded, people are going to get the idea and start trying to write matches with those words.
Oh no. Oh no.
And the Dark Ages will be reborn.
Yep. Oh gosh.
Okay, going back. Allowing the charred flesh to slide off the slopes of his body, a loud rumbling cry escaped Gamera's gaping jaws.
Oh.
Gamera's strategy was a success. Well, glad he figured out a new move for Godzilla. Godzilla stopped, attempting to salvage the potency of the situation. The king of the monsters angrily twirled his body around and glared at his rejuvenated foe. Wow, round 2. Godzilla underestimated Gamera's strategic plans in this battle. The atomic saurian will make sure it will never happen. A steady stream of wine gently flew across the ravaged terrain. The competitors stared intensely at one another, neither letting their guard down. Atomic power illuminated from within the outer core of Godzilla's spines. It manifested in the chasm of Godzilla's gaping jaws. Gamera's reptilian orbs carefully observed the situation. Cauldrons of fire seeped out of Gamera's fanged jaws, blistering the cold around. It was a standoff. Again?
Oh yeah, totally.
Hello?
You want to pass it to me,
And
or?
pass.
Okay. Godzilla curled his upper lip, allowing his nuclear plight to discriminate the air. Racist. In a savage display of dominance, Godzilla leaned his head forward and spewed an atomic emission of desolation.
Oh, hold on. When you said racist, he's a firebender because that's when the Fire Nation attacked.
Fair enough. Fireball streaked out Gamera's separated jaws and blazed across the torn metropolis to meet Godzilla's unholy power. Godzilla's atomic beam collided with the first fireball. The atomic beam lanced into the energetic sphere. This thing has a personality? I never knew that. Energetic sphere and ripped it asunder. Rip fireball. Hashtag rip fireball. The penetrated fireball. Gosh darn it!
Again, this is a porno. Seriously, this is not a fight. This is something. This is like say. Okay.
The most extreme kind that destroys cities. Anyway, the penetrated fireball detonated in a shower of fire.
Fire? Yeah.
Oh.
Wow, they're into some really, really kinky stuff.
Gosh darn it! Godzilla's atomic beam met another fireball and started to lose its momentum. No! Gamera's fireball waded through the current atomic fire until it too failed to withstand the fury of the atomic ray. Oh my gosh. Another shower of fire bleached the sky of darkness and replaced it with lights. Godzilla ceased all nuclear activity, unable to keep the atomic blast stable. But to Godzilla's dismay, the third and fireball singed Godzilla's shoulder, and a curtain of fire engulfed the atomic dragon.
I don't think Godzilla's a dragon.
Well, I mean, technically not. He's a dinosaur, but whatever. I don't mind the description. It's one of the few descriptions I'll let go away as opposed to everything else we've read. Oh my gosh. Cries of agony swept across the torn city.
And a lot of disturbed faces grew in response.
Yes. Crawling amidst the rubble, humans covered with dust and blood scampered to safety. Thousands of them were badly bruised, and every single one of them had witnessed the demise of another. Driven by instinct, none of them were willing to help one another. All that mattered was reaching sanctuary. But every time,
Assholes.
yeah. But every time the ground rumbled, and the loud. Let me reread that again. But every time the ground rumbled and the loud, frightening roars of the monsters stirred their very being. All of the people stopped dead in their tracks to witness the battle of the century. Why would you stop dead in your tracks to witness a battle that's been going on for a long time now? To be fair, the Godzilla universe humans are idiots, but whatever. Godzilla's face was badly burnt. The blistering hide smoldered with scalding heat, a testament of the power wrought by Gamera. It would take a few minutes for Godzilla's injuries to be completely healed, but the Atomic Saurian did not plan to wait so long to achieve vengeance. Fountains of smoke poured out of Gamera's leg sockets, propelling the guardian of the custodians straight up into the charred sky. I'm sorry I had to do that. Godzilla's heat beam devastated the land Gamera once stood upon. The atomic dragon snarled in disdain, angered by the fact that Gamera narrowly avoided confrontation. A menacing howl escaped Godzilla's maw, challenging Gamera to confront him. Oh my. The challenge was openly accepted. Pass. Oh my gosh.
Openly accepted.
Openly accepted indeed. Oh my gosh.
Fireballs plummeted against Godzilla's black, scaly hide. Okay, didn't need to know that. Entrenching craters in the monster's flesh, Godzilla's scaly skin boiled and popped. Unable to withstand the extreme temperatures, Godzilla's paranormara concentrated on the flying janitor, allowing the atomic dread to seep out of his bony spines. Atomic energy shot out of Godzilla's parted jaws, attempting to ravage the airborne Gamera. Immediately, Gamera sucked his head and arms into his sockets. Azure streaks of light glimmered out of the cavern of limbs. Gamera rapidly trolled his body, avoiding Godzilla's beam as it made its descent. Godzilla recognized Godzilla's strategy. Gamera's strategy, Jesus Christ, and decommissioned his atomic beam and spun his body around it. A long, muscular tail collided with Gamera's twirling form. Gamera uncomfortably flew across the landscape, attempting to gain control. Billows of smoke poured out of Gamera's limb compartments and crashed. Gamera's head peeked out of its socket, attempting to examine the situation. It was very sticky. The ground rocked back and forth as the large and powerful Godzilla charged to meet Gamera. The fuck? Fire crawled out of Gamera's mandible blades, morphing into a ball enriched with plasma. Sounds sexy. Fireball detonated against Godzilla's chest, engulfing the charging beast in a sea of fire. Godzilla sprinted past the fire, but Heisei Godzilla can't run. He's too fucking fat. No longer influenced by its enkindled torment, Gamera failed to prevent Godzilla's counterattack. Yep, doesn't sound wrong at all. Godzilla's 30-ton body collided with Gamera, plunging the janitor deep into earth. Oh god. I'm just gonna reread that. Godzilla's 30-ton body collided with Gamera, plunging the custodian deep into the earth. Anyone want to take a pander of how wrong that is?
I don't think we can post this up on YouTube, guys. I'm just saying.
I think we can. We just have to put a censor warning or something.
Oh
or at least say this is not safe for work.
Oh my gosh, this might have to be. Gosh darn it. Oh my gosh. I don't even know whether I should just make this like, age restricted or whatever. Oh, good glory.
No, this is what you should just do. Just like put a 10-second warning, like
I guess
type
like a
up a little
10-second.
something.
Right, yeah, kind of.
Just tell them if you're not fond of inappropriate language or whatever, you just leave the video now. So that way it's not age restricted and people don't have to go through the hassle.
I guess, because good glory,
I mean,
this is
you're doing the best. You're doing the best of both worlds for both sets of people.
Right. Oh gosh, I don't think. Heck, I think I remember his last one, the Kumasugami one, being pretty good.
Asphalt transcended the limitations of gravity by sending it to the sky and raining down in large cloisters. Horrified people sought refuge, but a blinding ripple of light captured their gaze. Jagged spines rose up out of the snow, flickering with nuclear anguish. Godzilla's body rose out of the mist, revealing a strange phenomenon. Ew. Godzilla was resting on top of the camera. What the fuck? The janitor of the universe plowed the ground with its organic boosters, blowing the surrounding rubble with its unparalleled force. Yeah. In a brief pause, Gamera's body stopped. Oh god, why? Godzilla was given a chance to comprehend the situation at hand. He was trying to figure out what hole to put it in.
Wait. Did you say Godzilla?
He's been adding things himself on purpose for the most part, but so he's been calling him Godzilla anytime he takes over and all that, but it's just, oh gosh.
Just like my granddaddy taught me.
But anyway.
Okay then.
Godzilla's entire world started to spin. Cue cheesy 90s love song. Gamera's body twirled in circles, moving faster by the second. Azure flames blossom out of the Gamera's arm and leg sockets, replacing the thick sheets of snow. Godzilla's claws impaled the surface of Gamera's shell, attempting to keep his stability. Oh god. Cascades of irritation glimmered with Godzilla's jagged spine, consuming the monster's gaping jaws. But Gamera had a different idea. Sounds sexy. Pass.
Purge, if you want to actually take over, for a little bit, that's fine. So.
I don't even know how far along we're at.
We're beyond the halfway point, kind of approaching. I think.
Just type in, but Gamera had a different idea, and it's the paragraph after that one.
Yeah, just Control F, but Gamera had a different idea, and it's just pretty much the paragraph right below that. You believe me, you won't miss it.
I have to say, I think this is
with an M.
I have to say, I think this is my favorite batch now.
Oh my god!
Seriously, this is
I wonder why.
This is like our MST3K of KWCs.
This thing riffs itself.
I know. Oh my gosh! It's you could just read this by yourself, and it's self-riffing. It's oh my gosh.
I think it's even
Wait,
better.
You say but Gamera had a different idea?
Yeah, but Gamera had a different idea. Just start from the paragraph below that.
Alright.
The Guardian
of the Universe landed his rotating body, throwing off Godzilla's balance. Godzilla's claws raked Gamera's shell, but eventually failed and detached. The king of the monsters slid down the slope of Gamera's twirling stature and bashed his head against Gamera's hard shell. God damn! I don't know if I can... Alright. Gonna try and keep myself not laughing. Let's see if I can keep a straight face. Let's see how long I can keep this going on.
Oh gosh.
Godzilla plummeted into the ground and was engulfed in a sea of smoke. The atomic saurian tried to budge, but the painful ache in his neck prevented the beast from rising. Godzilla's cold reptilian eyes scanned the desolate region. The king of the monsters released a small, painful cry of remorse. Fabrics of light blinded Godzilla's scrutiny, a prelude to the fireballs colliding with the ground and surrounding Godzilla with crackling flames.
Just a quick interruption. With this cry of remorse, he was sorry for putting it in the wrong hole.
I'm banning you, dang it. Godzilla's dark scaly hide basked in the heat the flames generated. The bones and muscles inside Godzilla's neck snapped into alignment, attempting to repair the damage Gamera had caused. Godzilla's hot breath steamed the air around his face. Light radiated inside Godzilla's bony spines. The monster's claws scrapped the ground. Okay.
Oh yes.
Emerald eyes gawked at the injured atomic dragon. Streaks of light burned out of Gamera's leg sockets, leaving a torrent of smoke in its wake. Gamera's arms reached out and felt the cold air dampen his scaly hide. Gamera's arms morphed into long, slender fingers. Or slender flippers.
That's like Zod in the original Batman v Superman.
Yeah. The flippers portrayed wing characteristics, assisting Gamera in his aerial travels. Soaring high above Tokyo, Gamera circled the injured Godzilla. Gamera noticed Godzilla's movements, knowing full well his adversary was still alive. Not willing to concede any chance of Godzilla getting back on his feet, Gamera unleashed a salvo of fireballs. The molten spheres plowed into Godzilla, incinerating Godzilla's scaly hide, and entrenched smoldering craters in the monster's body. A painful scream reached Gamera's ears. Gamera's assault had increased Godzilla's ratio of pain.
Sounds sexy.
Yeah, I know.
Now Gamera has his revenge of putting it in the wrong hole.
Shut up.
Let's let him.
The wounds embedded in Godzilla's flesh failed to heal properly. Part of the reason being a result of the intense heat Gamera's fireballs radiated. It cauterized the wounds. Godzilla's strong, muscular arms impaled the ground and pushed with all its might. The king of the monsters started to rise, ignoring the blistering pain Gamera inflicted upon him.
Oh, my.
Gamera cracked his neck. Okay, thank you, George Takei. No longer plagued by its injuries. The atomic dragon spat a torrent of atomic energy, singing. I think that's supposed to be singeing.
Yeah,
Gamera's airborne body.
He was singing "Let It Go."
Singeing Gamera's airborne body. In retaliation, Gamera bombarded Godzilla with a barrage of fireballs. A few of the fireballs struck the ground, unleashing a hailstorm of ember. The fire served a purpose. It was cover.
Now that can mean one or two things.
Blanket for Godzilla and Gamera to cuddle under.
And get it all.
Oh, you know.
The fire fed off the oxygen, producing cauldrons of smoke, blanketing the environment in its perpetual elegance. Godzilla's nostrils inhaled the churning scent, unable to locate his foe. To be safe, azure light blossomed out of the corridors of Godzilla's bony spines. Godzilla's mouth reeked with atomic urgency. Cold reptilian primacy flashed in Godzilla's eyes, carefully aware of the danger he was in. Godzilla's nuclear orbs skimmed the environment, attempting to adjust to this barbaric landscape. Godzilla surveyed the ghastly smoke. The monster's instincts urged the Leviathan to seek refuge beyond the ring of smoke and fire. The king of the monsters considered this strategy, but a ball enriched with fire penetrated the ghastly walls, attempting to sear off Godzilla's head. Godzilla managed to avoid contact with the fireball and spat his atomic heat ray in the direction from which it came. The king of the monsters discontinued the release of his atomic beam and hoped to hear Gamera's cries of agony. Instead, Godzilla only heard the flames crackle.
And Godzilla went to bed angry without looking at Gamera.
Alright, you're grounded. Alright, it's your turn. I'm passing.
Alright, passing. Godzilla scowled in disdain. Rage took its toll, overwhelming all common sense. Godzilla discharged his blazing nuclear beam, leveling any man-made structure it landed into. People scurrying across the ground sought cover, wasting no time to inspect the hundreds of tons of asphalt falling towards them. Godzilla's feet burrowed into the ground, splintering the surface with its mass. The enraged behemoth roared an unearthly howl, accusing his foe of meriting a cowardly role. But Gamera was merely fulfilling the strategy he'd need to overcome a creature believed to be indestructible. Godzilla charged towards the haze of smoke, no longer warranting Gamera the strategic high ground. The king of the monsters demolished the building with his gigantic body and broke free of the ring of fire. An aura of azure light blazed out of Godzilla's jagged spines. Godzilla attempted to shoot Gamera out of the sky, but the Guardian of the Universe made the first move. Gamera's spinning body crashed into Godzilla's sternum, packing enough concussive force to knock the wind out of Godzilla's lungs.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Gamera toppled Godzilla to the ground and descended into the bleached sky? Okay. Godzilla rolled onto his belly, shoved the ground with his immeasurable strength, and rose in the ashes flickering around him. The king of the monsters glared at the aerial creature known as Gamera, preparing to take aim. Godzilla mapped out the region, noticing Gamera's flight pattern would fly past Tokyo Tower. Godzilla curled his upper lip, revealing the carnivorous canines inhabiting the apex of his mouth. The king of the monsters waited patiently.
That's a surprise.
Oh, good glory. Gamera felt the wind pressed against his fatigue. The Guardian of the Universe wondered why his adversary wasn't shooting wildly. Perhaps Godzilla's energy was too low? If this was true, Gamera would be free to summon the elemental forces needed to ultimately smite the atomic dragon. The psychotic nature of Godzilla posed a threat to not only the human race, but to all life. Godzilla is quite capable of hampering the flow of life on Earth. It would be futile to try and eradicate all life. Gamera knew the planet would endure in the long run, and life would find a way, but it was in Gamera's intent to preserve things the way they are. No longer did azure streaks blaze out of Gamera's arms. Instead, the reptile's arms stretched out, grazing the wind with its feature. Organic boosters protruded out of Gamera's legs, increasing his speed. Gamera would need to circle Godzilla in order to unleash the full fury of his fireballs. By doing so, it should buy Gamera enough time to summon the mana. Pass.
Mana is also another word for something else.
Oh gosh.
And I also want to go back to the paragraph, or the sentence. It would be futile to try and eradicate all life. Gamera knew the planet would endure in the long run, and life would find a way. So, did Jeff Goldblum write this? Okay. Photographers stood upon the balcony of Tokyo Tower. The devastation, however grueling it was, providing the photographs they needed to become legendary. If only they would have seen what happened in 2014. Godzilla's glom did not stir the photographers. It never occurred to them of the peril they were in. The most infamous creature the world has ever seen was only several hundred meters away. Consider this to be a nuclear weapon. Godzilla dwarfed the destructive power of the atomic bomb. Yeah, no shit. Yet these humans, clouded by arrogance, had no idea of the danger they were in. Gamera was in range. Godzilla irradiated his bony spines. Ew. Atomic flames howled inside the fissure of Godzilla's jaws. The time to act was now. Gamera glided in front of Tokyo Tower, only then did he realize Godzilla's intentions. The custodian of the universe attempted to divert his course, but Godzilla's atomic pervaded across the desolate city and lanced into the airborne Gamera. Godzilla's heat ray unleashed enough concussive force to push Gamera into Tokyo Tower. Ew. The photographers were grateful, proud to catch the closest picture anyone ever had of Gamera. It was the last thing they knew before meeting Oblivion. Such a sad end. It's just so many likable characters right there. Takio Tower crumbled to the ground, unable to embrace Gamera's incredible weight. Dark smoke consumed the ravaged landscape. Godzilla's prehistoric stature moved amongst the dense fog, foreboding the role of Spectre, surveying a world unlike the one it was born into. The king of the monsters revealed in the chaos he had caused, howling in satisfaction with his ear-shattering roar. Oh my. Gamera answered Godzilla's calling with a cry of his own. The guardian of the universe stumbled into his feet, causing an strange glimpse of Godzilla. There was only one way to exterminate the atomic dragon, not dinosaur. Gamera knew of the distractions he needed in order to summon the energies of the earth. Fire corroded Gamera's empty mouth, igniting in the form of fireballs, which seared into the region in front of Godzilla. Godzilla was blinded, by the conflagration, the move that's always in Godzilla movies, multiple balls of fire. The king of the monsters discharged an enraged roar, struggling to understand Gamera's strategy. Godzilla's feral eyes barely managed to penetrate the crackling flames. A chaotic roar escaped Gamera's paw. The towering Leviathan ascended his gaze to the stars above. Aw, that's romantic. It was a cry unlocking the secrets of the world, which summoned the cascades of energy spawned by the life force of the world itself. The energetic properties of mana swept across the sky, gathering above Gamera. Past to Pergy.
Godzilla examined the situation of this strange development. The king of the monsters felt a strange tingling in his primordial mind, informing the atomic saurian that danger was brewing. It was then that Godzilla sensed it, the power that Gamera was manifesting. Godzilla was overcome with a feeling he rarely exhibited: fear. This unworthy adversary was about to wield unimaginable power. Godzilla had to act fast. His survival depended on it. The king of the monsters released a thundering roar, one that shook the foundations of the ground beneath his feet. Godzilla felt blistering heat crackle from the core of his heart. The atomic dragon's veins paid heed to the molten fury of Godzilla's nuclear reckoning. Godzilla's jagged spines blossomed with golden dread. The king of the monsters stood poised in a predatory pose, manipulating his own power. Mana descended from the sky, enveloping Gamera in its benign aura. Gamera's holy power increased dramatically. The custodian's armored crest opened, revealing the pulsating energy within.
Oh my.
The time was now or never. Gamera's divided jaws heralded a streak of golden light, which blazed with enough heat and force to rupture the ground beneath it. Those unlucky enough to be scurrying beneath the beam were instantly incinerated in its wake of freedom. Gamera groaned in dissatisfaction, angered by the fact that he was too late to discharge a weapon that would ultimately annihilate his loathing foe. Godzilla's golden beam lanced into Gamera's open wound, igniting the gathering mana with its blistering fury, setting off a chain reaction. Gamera, the guardian of the universe, disappeared in a blinding explosion. The destructive potency of the explosion leveled nearby buildings and extended its radius instantly. Light triggered by the rupturing blast of the explosion glinted off Godzilla's feral eyes. The king of the monsters roared a cry of understanding as he was engulfed by the explosion. Shockwaves generated by the explosion shredded the district. Godzilla, a creature of biblical proportions, had been lifted off the ground by the explosive force. The king of the monster's skin was unable to deter the blistering heat, and as a result, it burned off. Godzilla's steel-like muscles melted and at times popped. When the wave of heat departed, Godzilla's body fell limp against the ground, eventually bouncing off the surface and skidded across the landscape, and it came to a halt. A large impact crater took up a portion of Tokyo. Gamera's burnt carcass laid inside the center of the crater. Godzilla weakly clenched the ground with his gigantic claws. The atomic saurian extinguished a sigh of relief, thankful to be alive. Godzilla weakly fought to rise to his feet. The monster's legs wobbled, desperately trying to support the rest of the body. Godzilla's unparalleled wounds lingered with the scent of burnt flesh. The smell nauseated Godzilla's nostrils. Godzilla's body shook uncontrollably. The pain was that severe.
Oh my.
Godzilla's body begun preparations needed to undergo the long, horrendous session of healing his bodily wounds.
All because Gamera stuck in the wrong hole again. Fucking turtles. Could never trust them.
Gave him a taste of turtle power, man. Godzilla growled in painful grunts, which was the result of his eyes regenerating.
Orbs
They were incinerated.
Sorry, continue.
They were incinerated amidst the explosion's wrath. Godzilla's pupils formed, bringing forth Godzilla's ability to see. The vision was blurry, but it would do. The king of the monsters noticed the charred body of Gamera. Godzilla waited outside the outskirts of the impact crater, searching for signs of light. Godzilla's ears faintly heard a heartbeat. Gamera was still barely alive, and it would take time for the Guardian of the Universe to resurrect. Godzilla's energy had been sapped during the battle. The King of the Monsters knew the time to act was now, but Godzilla was too tired. It wouldn't be too long until Gamera retained his former health. Godzilla snarled in spite, despising the thought of not fulfilling his oath to murder the custodian. There was only one emotion present that represented retribution. They'd fight again.
Oh my.
With that thought, Godzilla turned away and weakly treaded in the direction of the ocean. Making it to the ocean would sap Godzilla all of his strength, leaving the king of the monsters with no choice at all but to hibernate. Godzilla disappeared beneath the watery surface, leaving behind a desolated Tokyo. Wind gently blew across Gamera's ravaged body. Gamera's heartbeat pulsated with life. The noble mind of the custodian within patiently waited to shed his burnt skin and rise to defend the earth once more. Until that day, both Godzilla and Gamera would have to settle for a draw. The end.
Yep. Draw.
Or is
Godzilla and
I return.
And so ends the most porno match ever made.
Yep, you literally you missed pretty much everything. All I could say is... Oh my gosh. Okay, first off, Purge, I know you kind of came in at a bit of a halfway point, but still, I guess, you should be the first to be asked, how'd you think of the match? Oh, gosh. Or what are your thoughts on it?
I don't think I could ever read this match ever again. That's what I think.
And you're welcome.
It was weird, I have to say.
Oh man, it is. I think this has become my new favorite so bad it's good match. Like, it's terrible in so many ways, but I think it's just the fact that when GVJ pretty much points out to me, oh, just read it as a porno, it becomes hilarious.
Also, like the sixth to last paragraph,
there was so much which
end of it, I just want to note that it says the vision was blurry, but it would have to do. Godzilla had to wipe something off.
Gosh, Jerry.
Also, Gamera's ravaged body. Sounds like a line out of 50 Shades or something. I don't know.
Oh, seriously did it on his body. I mean, he had to go to the hospital.
Really, it does. It does. It just reads that way.
Ravage, such a sexy word.
Now that ending to match 56, where Godzilla and Gamera, where it said they were once rivals, now made a lot of more sense in this context. Because now they're just like spousal lovers.
Yeah, I think
instead of having angry sex.
Right. Yeah, I think this match might actually be connected to the Baggage trilogy, as is Batra vs. Kumasugami, if I remember correctly. But yeah, freaking, oh my gosh, this was just, it is hilarious.
And here's my
review on it. Kumasugami, that was the one with the. I remember that.
Here's my review on it. It was sexy.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all
We
you
all
had to
know
say.
that.
And here's another thing I wanted to note.
Of course.
Out of all the
Sexy.
weird, like, disgusting Godzilla slash fics, I think this is the king of the Godzilla slash fics.
Wait, whoa.
Oh,
Whoa!
clearly you don't hang out on DeviantArt enough.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, I don't think I'm ever gonna find a match that is so naughty compared to this one.
Oh
shit.
my god.
I'm now seeing like the pictures from Volume 4. Oh my god, that looks so good. Oh my god.
Oh
Banner,
my
stop confusing the audience. Our non-existent audience.
Sorry,
And
this
apparently,
looks so awesome.
and again, another thing I have to point out for the second half, apparently Godzilla is fake Godzilla when powered up, I guess. That yellow beam thing was kind of weird. Like, was it
Yellow beam.
Yeah, like his powered beam in this version is a yellow beam.
Could it be
I think that was
it's a
supposed to be the
spiral?
yeah.
Oh, right,
Or,
right.
or
Like the,
here's a good conspiracy theory. It's a prequel to KaijuX's match of Mechagodzilla versus Goliath and Bemular.
that conspiracy, yo.
And we could technically now have Heisei Godzilla as a fake skin. So you hear that, audience? We could
No, that was finalized to just show us skins only. That was finalized. So, sorry.
You know someone's gonna ask that now because of me.
Yeah, I'll just have to clarify. We went over it again. We kind of clarified it that Showa Mechagodzilla can only wear, Showa Godzilla skins. So, and nothing beyond that.
Yeah, Showa Mechagodzilla isn't fat.
He's thin and sexy. Those anorexic Showas. But yeah, oh my gosh, this match. I think it's. I don't know how I took this seriously years ago. Like, I remember reading it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's like porn to my eyes, and turned out it's quite literally porn.
It's my new favorite match now. I love this match. It's just so great.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Well, oh, good glory.
Are
What
we
can I-
reading another match or no?
Oh no, we'll stop there for
This
now.
one's just been such a lengthy match.
Right.
That's what she
So-
said.
All right.
Hey, come on!
All right.
Enough already.
So that was
Oh,
Godzilla.
Bambi.
Doing the outro here. So that was that was Godzilla Heisei versus Gamera Heisei. Be back next time for Legion versus Destroyer versus Descadora. Until then,
Oh, so it's a three-way.
gosh darn it.